The coaching industry, in my opinion, has placed high ticket clients as the holy grail. There is true value, and then there's perceived value. And I believe all of us have true value, meaning the things that we can teach people actually are valuable. If you don't have high ticket clients, here's why. I was going for Jeff Foxworthy, but that felt a little bit more like Kentucky Fried Chicken guy, kind of mixed with Adam Sandler. My brilliant impressions aside, so many people are focused on getting high ticket clients and most people don't have them. In this video, we're gonna break down why. High ticket clients. It's one of the buzzwords in the coaching industry specifically. I don't know how many offers I get on a daily basis in LinkedIn, private messages about people that want to teach me how to get high ticket clients. I usually go back to them and like, do you even know who I am or what I do or what I sell or what high ticket means to me, or if I have some now, or like what I want? Exactly. Right. That's actually perfect timing, because what is happening so often in this industry is just a bunch of people barking, right? Just, high ticket. And what was that you said?
Exactly.
So high ticket is one of those barks that we hear a lot. And there's a reason that it's being used a lot, because people want it. So there's a demand to some degree for high tickets. And if we're in business, we need money to build the business, and we all want money for something, some reason, pretty much all of us. So if we want money, we want more money. And generally high ticket is better than low ticket, right? So it all sounds fantastic. And that's one of the reasons why the phrase is used so often. And most people are not getting high ticket clients. I mean, most people are not getting clients. If we're really honest about the coaching industry. And so this is for those of you that have been wanting high ticket clients. Whether you've gotten any clients or not, you're just attracted to this idea. And there's nothing wrong with the idea. There truly isn't anything wrong with getting high ticket clients. We have many high ticket packages, tens of thousands of dollars that are available. And I've sold many of those. So there's nothing wrong with having high tickets. This isn't a judgment around good or bad or what have you. It's a discussion on why you don't have them if you don't. So if you're wanting them and chasing them and desiring them for whatever reason, and they're not coming to you, then this is probably why. So we're going to give you like 6 reasons why you might not have high ticket clients. I felt like I wanted to channel my Jeff Foxworthy there. Like, you might not have high ticket clients. I don't know what else he says.
You might be a redneck if he doesn't sound like Mrs. Doubtfire, which is who you just sounded like.
I feel like there were a few different impressions that, like, there was an evolution of the impression. At the end, it felt like a Adam Sandler old lady, old lunch lady.
That's
right?
who. Yes. Mrs. Doubtfire. That's pretty similar.
Very similar. Yeah, absolutely. So you might not have high ticket clients if that was like almost dead on Adam Sandler.
It was, especially at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. So you might not have high ticket clients if any of these 6 things are happening, or if you're experiencing these. Was that a drum roll?
It was, but like bongo roll.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. So the first one is, there's no real specific order in terms of importance, except the last one. We're saving what I think is the most critical one that will appeal to most people last, which means you got to watch the whole video. And you should subscribe to the channel, because we do videos like this all the time. And if you subscribe and turn on your notifications, then you'll get notified maybe when we put out videos. So the first one is, you might, now we just got to run with the Jeff Foxworthy. You might not have high ticket clients if you haven't been a high ticket client.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's the reality for a lot of us. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean if you have been a high ticket client that you will necessarily get high ticket clients. But there's a lot of truth to this ceiling that we have in terms of value that's dependent on the value that we see specifically translated into dollars. I remember the first time that I paid $25,000 for a coach. I've paid $25,000 twice, 2 different coaches, 2 different coaching packages, 2 different stages of my growth. And there's a lot of money. Yeah. In both of those scenarios, I felt like I got a bargain. Because the value that I got and what I implemented because of it and what it turned into was way more than the 25,000. And it wasn't in the information necessarily that I got from these people that I immediately turned into money. You know, high ticket investments operate differently than just commodities. Like I'm going to pay $20 and I'm going to get something. I'm going to immediately put it into play. For a high ticket investment to be valuable and for the person who's investing the high dollar amount to find the value in it, it just doesn't operate the same as elementary level coaching or elementary level investments, whether it's investments of time or energy or money. So high ticket coaching is like its own game, and it doesn't necessarily even look like or feel like or sound like low ticket items. And so I'm speaking from my own personal experience because it wasn't like they told me, okay, here, go do this. And then I did this and I made $26,000 and made my investment back. Some of it was months later down the road or even years later down the road. But my point is I've paid $25,000 twice. And it wasn't until after I invested $25,000 that I sold a $25,000 coaching package. It actually wasn't until after I invested that money that I even considered selling a $25,000 coaching package. So my mind expanded once my investment expanded. And then I was asking myself, what could I put into a $25,000 coaching package? And I think the very first person that I made that proposal to said yes to it, if I remember correctly. But it's because I started to think differently. And I actually invested a lot more money in that, or than that. In my highest investment was well north of $80,000. And it wasn't until I invested that as a client and then experienced what do I get back for that level of investment and that level of time that I even considered, could I create, and it wasn't from like I need $80,000. It wasn't from that desperation standpoint, or if I can have somebody pay me $80,000 and I'm a better person or I'm a better coach. It wasn't coming from that place. It was, wow, I see the value of that level of investment. And could I provide that value for somebody else? So it was really about the value that earned the dollar amount based on the value I experienced after I invested that dollar amount. So I'm using some big numbers, and these numbers are all relative. I'm just telling you the truth about what I've invested in some of the packages that we've sold. And there's been 2 people that said yes to coaching packages that are close to that dollar amount for us, around the $80,000 level. And you know what was interesting about that? When they said yes, I actually went, okay, it's time to start. Like there was no celebration. It wasn't like, yeah, let's go buy something. And, let me tell everybody. It was like, all right, like the value relationship has just started, right? They just said yes to a really, really high value relationship. And that's really important to understand. Hopefully it's landing for people, but I've just seen that people who are trying to sell $5,000 packages and haven't purchased a $5,000 package, it's just tough. It's like the energy isn't there. So that's the probably the most common one, I would say, as I've dove into it with different people, is that they haven't raised their certainty about the dollar amount itself having value because they haven't gotten value out of that investment.
I mean, that's just what you said is, so the 2 things that really stood out to me is the last thing that you said, right? The experience of the value, like you don't really know it. You don't know what's in it and what's inside of it. And the other thing that was like just shifted me in the moment that you said it is that we're talking about a whole nother stratosphere, and not just because of the dollar amount, but like it's more of a long-term game. Like, and it's not even a game, it's more of a long-term journey and a commitment inside of the relationship. And so the results are not, I bought this, give me this. It's we're diving into this journey and this relationship together. So on both sides, as the coach and of the client, it's a different type of investment energetically. And in order to be able to sell that, yeah, you got to experience it.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. So as you were just talking, I want to add another one to this. So this is like bonus 1.5, or we're just going to add this to the number, and there'll be 7 here. A lot of people just have a really unhealthy relationship with money. And if you have a really unhealthy relationship with money, then the idea of asking somebody to pay you a dollar amount that is well beyond your comfort zone is going to be incredibly uncomfortable. And if you are uncomfortable offering a dollar amount that is super disruptive to you, man, that's going to be really tough for anybody to go, oh, this thing that's making you shake in your boots. Yeah, let me say yes to that.
Yeah,
it's going to create an energy that repels people more than attracts people. So the next one, why don't you do the Jeff Foxworthy? You might not have high ticket clients if.
Perfect. All right. So you might not have a high ticket client if
you haven't gotten enough medium ticket, low ticket, or no ticket clients. You got to work your way up to that stuff. For most people, there are things that you learn when you're coaching people for free. Those things will help you start to attract paid clients. And your first paid clients are probably going to be low ticket. Right. Now, everything is relative. So your low ticket client might start out at $2,000 for a month. Your low ticket client might start out at $100 for a month, depending on who you are and who it is that you're offering this to. But then relative over the course of your journey as well. So low ticket and medium ticket and all that stuff, like it's not even defined what those things mean most of the time. They're very vague. So understanding that this is relative, there are lessons that you learn coaching for free that then will help you create the value that people will pay you a low dollar amount for, that then will create the value from the lessons that you learn that will cause people to want to pay you a higher dollar amount and then a higher dollar amount. It's like a staircase. And just so many people are trying to go from the bottom all the way to the top of the staircase, and they haven't walked all that journey. You know, an analogy that I love, I use quite a bit in the realm of just personal development in general, is climbing Mount Everest. Yep. People want the selfie from the top of Mount Everest. And whatever that looks like to you in your goals, and specifically in this case, if we're talking about high ticket clients, you want to get that high ticket client. But the worst thing you could do if you were actually climbing Mount Everest is to get a helicopter ride to the top. Because if you get a helicopter ride to the top of the mountain, as soon as you get dropped off, you would immediately die. Yeah. And the reason you would die, I think, from what I've heard and read, before the weather even gets to you. Like you won't even last long enough for the weather to freeze your body at that point, because you're not acclimated to the weather. Your lungs don't know how to breathe at that level. So if you get the shortcut to the top of the mountain, your lack of acclimation at the elevation will cause you to suffocate. Yep. In the literal analogy, you'll die. In the metaphorical analogy of getting a high ticket client, when you haven't acclimated to what delivering coaching packages means at the lower levels, and then they start to rise, then even if you were to get a high ticket client, that could actually mean death to your business. Yeah. It could actually ruin you energetically because you haven't acclimated there. And if they pay a large dollar amount and then you don't show up with the certainty that they're wanting, or you don't provide the experience, or you don't even know how to check in with them or what have you, if you just don't have the body for the elevation, in this case, the elevation of the dollar amount and the investment, it might be a terrible experience for you. And you might decide, I don't ever want to do that again. Or your brain might take over and go, don't ever do that again. In fact, since we didn't have a good experience charging a high dollar amount, I don't think we should charge any dollar amount. In fact, you should just stop doing this. That's how the brain works when it's trying to protect us from an experience that it doesn't want to have again, that was traumatic on any level. So that acclimation piece, I think, is really critical to understand.
Oh, 100%. So you might not have high ticket clients. Is that it? Is that what we're saying?
Well, you got to give a if or a when.
All right. So here
Can you go a little more Adam Sandler though?
No.
Huh. Well, I guess you know your lane, you know your niche. All right.
Thanks for asking. You might not have high ticket clients if
you're speaking to people's minds instead of inspiring their hearts.
Ugh.
Especially if you've got a lot of things we've already talked about, an unhealthy relationship with money, or you've never been there, you're not acclimated yet to the elevation, then what we tend to do is seek the safety of our minds. But it's an elusive safety, meaning it's an illusion, but it's also elusive with an E, because it actually doesn't last, and it's not truly safe. It just makes us think that we're safe if we go into our minds. And that's one of the things that we just do as humans.
Yeah.
Whenever we feel emotional danger, we tend to want to go to the safety of our mind. We want to turn the emotion off. And we do that in coaching, in sales specifically, quite often. If we're not comfortable having this conversation, then we'll just try to make it intellectual. And if you pay this dollar amount, then I will deliver this and you will get this. And when you speak to the mind and you're trying to appeal to the mind, you're getting into an intellectual conversation. But what you got to understand is that's where all of their objections are also.
Right.
That's where all of their intellectual fears are, especially about investing money. The intellect does not want to waste money. The intellect does not want to be stupid. The intellect does not want to make the wrong decision. So if you invite the intellect into the conversation and you only speak to the other person's intellect, they will probably find a reason that it's not smart to invest this high dollar amount, especially if anything smells off. If anything doesn't just check all the boxes that their intellectual mind wants checked, then there's a much higher likelihood that they're going to say no. And we do that as coaches because we're afraid of the actual connection, the bonding, the being under the potential microscope, like actually having to show up and maybe even perform in order to deliver the kind of value that would justify the high price. So we just go into our head and we play it safe. And most people actually don't purchase from their intellect. Most of us purchase from our emotion, but we justify it with our intellect.
Yep.
But purchasing is a desire conversation. I want something.
Yeah.
And how many times have we wanted something, even if our intellect says, don't buy that because it's not going to hold its value, or it's not going to work, or whatever the case is. But it's really difficult to convince the heart to not get something that it wants. Right. Especially if it has the means, if it has the resources. So, and this is not an either or conversation. It's not you want to speak only to and from the heart,
right?
But you definitely don't want to speak only to and from the head. This is about engaging both of those, right? And that passion in you and the passion in the other person and the desire for the outcome that this high ticket investment might bring to them will be a combined ingredient that their brain could then, use to kick around. I mean, you also don't want people to just emotionally cut big checks.
Absolutely.
Because that usually, I don't know about usually, but often that doesn't go well. Right. So we don't want people to make emotionally drunk choices and cut big checks, but their hearts and their emotions and their desires should be involved, because you also don't want somebody to just decide intellectually to invest a high dollar amount, because that person is usually, my experience at least, maybe it's not the case for everybody, but quite often that person that only makes an intellectual decision is not actually convicted And so when things get challenging, they might leave or they might ask for a refund because they made an intellectually convicted decision rather than an emotionally convicted decision. And if you're doing any work that's going to cause people to get uncomfortable, they need to be emotionally convicted, not just intellectually convicted.
Yes. We're going to go to the next one. What I was going to add, you said. So here we go. You might not have high ticket clients if
your perceived value simply isn't high enough. This is a conversation that really, truly is simple. There is true value, and then there's perceived value. And I believe all of us have true value, meaning the things that we can teach people actually are valuable. If they were to learn them, if they were to implement them, they can change their life. They can have a different experience on this planet. I think we all have lessons that other people could change their life with. So the true existence of value is not up for debate. But you might have something that is factually valuable, but you might offer it to somebody that doesn't perceive the value.
Right.
The classic sales concept that I remember hearing a long time ago is don't try to sell hospital beds to hotels. Hospital beds are massively valuable, and to hospitals, they serve a purpose. But if you go into a hotel and go, look at this bed, like you can make it go up, and it's got the thing where you can call the nurses, like you're not selling those things. It's valuable, but it has no perceived value to the hotel because it doesn't match a need that the hotel has. So a lot of times we have actual value, but the perceived value in a different person just isn't there. And if we notice that that's the case, then we have a couple choices. Number one, go find somebody that does perceive the value, or increase the value that you have. Increase the perception of value in that conversation with that person. And most of the time that's going to be a better coach or deliver more value in the package that you're offering or something like that. But a lot of us, the reason this is a really critical distinction is a lot of us attach our real value to somebody else's perceived value.
Yes.
So if you don't perceive me as valuable, then that means I'm not valuable. So I could make this amazing spread of hamburgers and hot dogs and bacon and all this stuff, and I offer it to Michelle, and she doesn't want it because she doesn't eat that stuff. So if her choosing not to eat the food that I cooked because of her reasons, there's just not perceived value in that food. If I make it mean that I suck as a cook, then I will probably miss somebody just around the corner that's dying to have a hamburger and a hot dog, and they might pay a good amount of money for the thing that I made. I'm just trying to serve it to the wrong person because it's just not perceived value there. And the reasons, let's break that down a little bit. The reasons that there might not be perceived value is you just might not know them enough in order to put together a package that they want. If you don't really know them enough and all you know is your content or all you know is yourself, then their perception of value is probably not going to be there because you don't really truly know how they see the world. You don't know what they value. So one of the ways to sell higher priced packages is to really truly know what that person would pay a higher price for.
Yes.
And if you know what they'll pay a higher price for, that means they already value the things that they're paying a high price for. Then offer some version of that. Like get in their realm of value. You know, one of the things that we talk about a lot when it comes to money is a lot of people say, I don't have any money for coaching. Doesn't even matter what the ticket price is, right? Most people don't have a budget for coaching. Most people we don't grow up thinking that one of the things that you need to be a happy human being is a paid life coach. That's not just in our common programming. So most people don't see the value of a life coach, especially the first time they even consider it. So you might offer somebody a life coaching package, let's say for $2,000, and they say no, because in that moment, they don't see the value, and they'll say they don't have the money a lot of times. And then if you turn around and offer them a 5-bedroom mansion for $2,000, guess who automatically has the money? Absolutely. Magically, it will appear. They'll sell something, they'll borrow, they'll do something to create the money. Why? Simply because a mansion has a much higher perceived value. Now, that's a ridiculous example in the difference there. But the point is, when people perceive something to be valuable, they find the resources that will match their perceived value. And that means you need to know what it is that they want, and you've got to show up with certainty in the conversation. If you don't show up with certainty in the conversation, then that will probably decrease their perceived value of you.
Yeah.
You want to speak to this next piece? It's one that I know you've got a lot of passion around in the perceived value piece around specificity.
Yeah. I mean, so specificity in which, so we talked about this a lot earlier, which category inside of the specificity?
Yeah, just that with less specificity, there's less perceived value.
Oh yeah, because you're being vague. Awesome. Yeah, because in this high ticket, I ask, so thank you for that, Sean, because there's a lot of vagueness in just high ticket clients in general. And the reality is that if you're talking to everybody and you can help everybody and you're just a general thing out there offering general services to a lot of general people, then there's no like specialty in that. And as a client who is open to the possibility of paying for a high ticket coach, I want to feel special and I want to work with somebody who is a specialist. So I want to be in that space of, I'm going to use this word, I don't mean it in any kind of negative, to be received negatively, but there's an elite, like I want to be a part of like an elite, like group of people who are doing this elite thing with somebody who is also offering an elite and specialized service. So a lot of the reasons why we don't have high ticket clients is because we're just offering a giant buffet to anybody who's interested in eating.
Yeah, it's actually much, much easier to offer a higher ticket item with specificity. Absolutely. Than not just a lower ticket item, but to sell a bunch of the lower ticket items. Like, I don't know how many times I've had this conversation with clients. If you need to make $10,000, my advice to you, you've heard me say this a couple of times. I don't know why I've been saying this lately, but if my life was on the line, if you get this goal or not, then I would tell you, don't try to sell 10 people $1,000 item, and don't try to sell 100 people a $100 item, and don't try to sell 1,000 people a $10 item. Find one person and offer them a $10,000 value. It will be so much easier to do that. I promise, based on all the years of experience. And it's actually more difficult a lot of times to sell a $10 item.
Yes.
I mean, $10 is throwaway money for a lot of people, right. But because of that, it's also just easy to say no, because a lot of people don't have a high desire for something low ticket because they don't really think it's going to be all that interesting in their life. And it's not going to be like life changing. It's like, yeah, okay, I'll get it, but it's not that big of a deal. The other thing is people that invest just the low dollar amounts generally have a lower commitment and conviction to whatever it is they invested in, because the dollar amount didn't activate them a lot. And so you managing a lot of people investing a low dollar amount usually isn't going to be a whole lot of fun. And most coaches don't want to manage a lot of clients. So that specificity really truly does have a much higher perceived and actual value to the client.
All right. So I want to sing it. I'll do it. I'll surprise you. You might be I was going to say you might be a redneck. You might not have high ticket clients if
you're not following your passion enough, and you don't have the certainty in what you're teaching. And it goes with all the things we talked about, but specifically this last piece about being a specialist. I think we all have something that we dismiss inside of us or inside of our experiences that we can share with other people, that we can teach other people. And most of us undervalue the things that we're the best at, because the things that we're the best at quite often are the things that aren't difficult for us. That's why we're really good at it. And a lot of times we have a lot of passion around those things, or we get excited about those things, but we dismiss the value of them because we don't really have to work very hard. And if we don't have to work very hard at something, it doesn't seem all that valuable to us. Therefore, it's harder for us to see why other people would pay us for something that comes easy to us.
Right.
And then there's another piece to this that you were speaking about earlier. So you can take this if you want, just the idea of passion and payment.
I don't remember what I was saying earlier. Clearly, you got to help me out. I'm like,
that a lot of us have been programmed.
Oh yeah. I literally just wrote that down. That's real talk. I literally wrote it down on my Post-it note.
So show the camera. What did you actually write on your Post-it note?
I said it's the relationship with money, right? That we don't believe that we can actually get paid to do the thing that we're passionate about doing. Yeah.
So you wrote it down, and then I almost said word for word. You're like, what? What are you talking about? That's
There's
amazing.
A lot of pressure when you're like, we were talking about it earlier, and I'm like, oh my God, what thing were you talking about earlier? What does he want me to say? What if I say the wrong thing? Okay, so here we go. I believe that a lot of us have been programmed that thing that we're good at, that little girl, little boy dream, that desire that we have, that thing that lights us up the most, that you can't get paid doing that you can't make any money doing that you have to be doing something else. I also think that a lot of us have a relationship that in order to make a lot of money, we got to work really hard. So that thing that comes really natural to us and is easy, to use your word, we don't feel like it's worthy of the high ticket dollar amount when we're living inside of that story.
And the truth is the exact opposite for so
Amen.
many people. The thing that comes the easiest for you, somebody would pay you the most for, but we dismiss it. That's why signature value sessions, some of the things that we've been doing recently, are so incredibly valuable for people, where I just help people recognize, like, that's your thing. It's so easy. And I can't tell you how many times people will go, wow, I never thought of that. Right. Because we dismiss the thing that's easy for us. So a signature value session, if you haven't heard me talk about that before, it's where you get on the line with either myself or somebody on our team. We ask you 10 questions, you answer them, and then we have a short phone conversation. And after that conversation, we essentially say, like, this is your signature value. This is the thing that you'll probably get paid the most for, but it'll probably bring the most out of you in a good way also. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, we just miss it. We just don't see it. And I do these sessions and I miss it also.
Absolutely.
Like, just the things that are natural to us and simple, we just dismiss them.
Yeah.
The other thing is, a lot of us don't have permission to be passionate, even if it's not connected to a dollar amount and whether we can make money with it. We just weren't given the permission to be passionate and happy and excited and do the things that we want to do. Maybe it's because we watched a couple parents that weren't passionate in their life, or maybe it's because we were passionate in some area of our life and we got punished for the passion that we had, or whatever reason it is. A lot of us are actually just resistant to the passion. And that's why we won't get into that high ticket genius zone.
Dang. That's what it should be called. Not how do I get high ticket clients? How do I get into my high ticket genius zone?
There you go. And that leads into this last one that I think is the most critical and the most applicable to most people.
Absolutely. So, bongo roll. I wish I could trill my tongue. Anyway, all right. So you've learned so many things about me on this video. If you don't, well, you might not have high ticket clients if
you're going after high ticket clients. If the target is high ticket clients and it's not appealing to your passion, and it's not appealing to your purpose, and it doesn't light you up from the inside, and you think the accomplishment of bagging a high ticket client means that you're better as a coach or means that you're better as a human, then that internal resistance is enough to never allow you to get a high ticket client. And the reason I think this is really important for most people is that the coaching industry, in my opinion, I've been doing this for 15 plus years. Yeah. The coaching industry, in my opinion, has placed high ticket clients as the holy grail. Mm-hmm. Like, you are a really good coach if you have high ticket clients. Yeah. And sometimes that's explicit. I would say most of the time it's implicitly taught, it's embedded. Yeah. And so we think the goal as a coach is to get high ticket clients, and that somehow confirms our value as a coach. And it really saddens me that we've been convinced that our value as a person or as a coach is determined by the height of the dollar amount that somebody else will pay for us. Yeah. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting high dollar amounts. Mm-mm. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get paid. None of that is wrong. It's just, in our experience, when people are searching for the high ticket client, the conflict that's actually going on inside is that they don't really care about getting high ticket clients. Mm. Their head does, their intellect does, but their heart doesn't. And we will fight for our heart's dreams with more passion and conviction than our intellect's expectations or desires that we think are going to add to our value as a human. Yes. So the reason that most people, in my experience and discussions, don't have high ticket clients is because they're trying to motivate themselves with the wrong fuel. Because think about, what does high ticket client appeal to? It appeals to higher dollar amount. You've alluded to this a little bit already in this video. It appeals to a higher dollar amount, which does appeal to the ego that wants a better lifestyle. Sure. Most of us have been programmed that more money equals better lifestyle equals better happiness. Yep. And that's fine. And I'm not here to argue against that, but that's actually not the fuel that inspires most of us. Right. If it was, then you wouldn't be this far into this video, because you would have high ticket clients and none of this stuff would resonate with you. It wouldn't even be relevant to you. Right. So if it's not working, this is probably why. You're putting the wrong fuel in your gas tank. You're giving yourself a target that you actually don't care all that much about. At least you don't care the most about. And so when we're struggling, when we're up against any kind of challenges, even if it doesn't come with struggle, when we're up against any kind of challenges, we want the thing that inspires us the most to be in our gas tank, to be fueling us. If we're trying to put something that our mind wants, but our heart doesn't care about in our motivation tank, we'll probably sputter. We will probably stall. You know, it's actually interesting because I'm teaching my son how to drive a stick shift right now. Not like right now, I'm doing this video right now, but I'm teaching my son how to do a stick shift. So we're talking about when to put the clutch in and when to put the gas in. And ideally, you know, you got a little bit of a release of the clutch and then you put a little bit of the gas in. But if you put too much of the gas in, you're going to flood the engine. If you let the clutch out too fast, you're going to stall the car and you're going to die. The car's going to die at least. And you're going to die.
Threatening driving teacher you are.
Right. Exactly.
A lot of pressure.
I like how you just physically responded to that.
I did.
Oh,
it's intense.
I'm going to die.
How's he doing?
Yeah. He hasn't wanted to go back out after the first one. I don't know why. Yeah. Apparently he wants to stay alive and it's just not worth it.
Right.
But yeah, that there is so much pressure in these situations, in trying to get this high ticket item. But the point is, if you don't have enough fuel going in to the tank, then the ego will probably cause you to stall, because the ego will be driven by intellect, and it'll be driven also by the intellectual fears that we have, the fear of rejection. What if they say no? What if I don't deliver? And all these things will probably cause us to not take action. I had a thought earlier today about this conversation, that if we offer a coaching program to somebody and they say no, how we relate to that no is actually really significant to pay attention to. If we relate to that no like, oh, the other person just didn't see the value in it, or we had a client just the other day said, I offered a coaching package to somebody and she said no, she just wasn't ready for me. She wasn't ready for me. What does that mean? Me still retained the value. The person wasn't ready for me, or the person didn't see the value, which means the value is still intact.
Right.
But if we offer people a coaching package and it destroys us if they say no, then that tells us we don't have the certainty. We actually don't feel our value.
Correct.
To the point that somebody else's decision could cause us to waver in our value. And I know you're at this point, I'm at this point where if I offer whatever to anybody, whether it's a certification program or one-on-one coaching package or whatever, and they say no to it, I can't remember the last time that bothered me, because I've just learned, like, I'm going to give everything I can. I'm going to offer everything that I can offer to change your life. And if you don't want to change your life, then I'm not for you anyway. Or if you just don't think what I'm offering you will change your life, then it's not a good fit anyway. And it just doesn't serve me at all to worry about that. I'm not into overcoming objections. I'm not into changing my offers so that more people will say yes and so less people will say no. I'm just not into that. It's not the way I want to live. I just want to be passionate, and I want to offer what I offer, and the right people are going to say yes. And it's not even right or wrong, like they are the right people, but some people are going to say yes, more people are going to say no, and that's just the way it goes. And I'm going to rock with the people that say yes, and I'm going to love the people that say no, but I won't let it affect the way I go home to my family. That's for sure. And I no longer will let it affect how I view myself. Now, that took a long time to get there. I know it took you a long time to get there. Long is relative. We could be talking about years, we could be talking about months, or we could be talking about a certain number of interactions and how many people said no to you and whatever. But the journey toward that point where your value is intact, regardless of what they say, is worth it. It's worth whatever it takes to get there, because once you're there, the level of freedom is insane. Like, we can't even understand it. I know when my value was attached to people saying yes or no, I couldn't even comprehend it not being attached. But now I can look back and go, oh, bless my little heart, when I thought people's decisions meant anything at all about my value as a coach. The liberation in that, liberating yourself from other people's decisions, liberating your self-worth from other people's choices. Can't even articulate how huge that kind of liberation is.
Yeah. It will only change everything.
Only everything. It reminds me of a story. You've heard this story many times, where early on in my career, I started to make a little bit of money, and it started to get good. And I think we made like $3,000 one month, and then 5,000 and 8,000, then like 16,000 or something like that. And I think we got close to 20,000, maybe a little lower, a little bit higher. And I thought, I want to make $40,000 the next month. And I think we were in the last week of a month, let's just call it March. And I wanted to make $40,000 by the end of the following month. So it was like 5 weeks or so that I had. And I put this goal up on a flip chart poster paper and affixed it to the door. And I said $40,000 by April 30th of 2007 or whenever it was. And I had the tasks that I was going to do. And we had all the metrics, and we're going to bring all these people in and all this stuff. We're going to make $40,000. And our business was trending that way. So if we were to just continue to do all the things we were doing, like there's a good chance we we're going to hit there. But like 2 weeks go by and I'm almost doing nothing on this list. I just feel unmotivated. I'm not inspired. I'm just not taking any of these actions. And of course, I'm not hitting the goal.
Right.
And then I get frustrated and I just give up on the goal. And then I don't know, a few days later, I have this thought to listen to this CD about goal setting. It was titled The 7 Deadliest Goal Setting Mistakes. So I plugged the CD in and listened. And one of the things they said was, don't have like a date that pressurizes your goal.
Right.
And don't put just a dollar amount for your goals because it's probably not the thing that's going to light you up. And don't put this in front of your face to see it everywhere if it's not actually going to inspire you to take action, because the more you look at something that de-inspires, that demotivates you, the more that you look at it, the less motivation you're obviously going to have. So I just listened to the CD. And so I take the poster down and I like forget the goal. And then I ask myself the question, how many people do I want to help by the end of April? And it just put me in a whole different space. And then I started thinking, can I help 1,000 people? Can I help 2,000 people? And I started to get excited by that. And I started to do the actions, almost the exact same list of actions that I wasn't doing before.
Right.
I started doing those actions and it was just inspiring to me. And I enjoyed, it was like I was back, you know, I was kind of back in my space. So the person who created the CD was me. It was my own CD. It was my own content. I'd been telling people, don't do this and don't do this and don't do this. But my ego took over and said, what would it look like if I made $40,000? I could pop my collar. I could go maybe celebrate. I could go buy something. And as soon as it was an ego goal, I wasn't inspired. So kind of like what you wrote down on, on the sticky paper and then immediately forgot. A lot of times we forget the things that we actually know. We just need to be reminded of them. And then the ending to this story is that my wife was our accountant at the time. And a few months or a few weeks later, she said, you got your goal, right? And I genuinely didn't know what she was talking about. I said, what goal are you talking about? And she goes, that goal that you put up, you got it. And in that moment, I completely forgotten the goal. And she said, remember the goal? You said $40,000 by the end of April. You got it, right? And I didn't. I had no idea. And we had surpassed it pretty comfortably, like 45 or 47 or something like that. But the point is, we passed it when I was inspired by the things that got me going. And then the money was just a byproduct of me doing the work.
That's right.
High ticket is a byproduct of you doing the work. High ticket is a byproduct of you bringing high value. And if you focus on high value and do the work and have the certainty and the passion and all the stuff that we've been talking about, then high ticket can show up as a byproduct once you command the value in other people's perceptions that they will gladly write a check for a pretty big dollar amount.
So if my target is high ticket client, then once I hit that target, goal achieved. So I'm done. In what you're sharing and how I operate as a coach is that the high ticket, that's just the beginning.
Right.
That's not the end, right? That's not the target. I'm done. I did it, right? Success. Right. I earned this. So I am that. No. Like you paid this. And so now let's dive in. Let's go in and create this relationship and this value. There have been multiple times at different stages of my journey, Sean, that I know that you've asked me like, well, how much did you make from that? Or what did you earn from that? And I mean, I'm like, I need a minute, right? Or I need 30 minutes because I genuinely don't know.
Right.
And not because I don't like, oh, whatever, I don't care. It's not what it's not what I'm after. And there's some times that I have added stuff and I'm like, holy, Like, that's awesome. And I genuinely had no idea. I had no idea. So it's when we serve the clients to serve the clients, then we get that certainty that brings in the high ticket, right? Sean said it's the byproduct. I say it's the result. That's the result. That's not the process. That's not the journey. That's not the path to go after. It's the result of the value that you bring.
Yeah, such a good point. And if the goal is high ticket, then your job as the coach basically ends once that high ticket is purchased.
That's right.
And it absolutely should not be that way if you really want to serve high value.
Yes.
Now, if you ask yourself, how can I create high enough value so that people that I want to serve will see enough value in the package to pay $5,000, $10,000, $50,000? Awesome. If you start from that place and it gets you going and it gets you motivated and inspired to do the work and offer the value, then I absolutely will celebrate all of the high ticket success that you get that comes from building the high ticket value. Whew, this is a big one. And just because it applies to so many things. I mean, it applies to money specifically, not just high ticket prices, but it applies to a lot. It applies to a lot of marketing. It applies to a lot of messaging. It applies to so much for people that are wanting to build a coaching business. And so if you want any one-on-one support from us, we offer free consultations. You can go to coachseansmith.com/book my call or click the link in the description and you'll get on the phone with one of our coaches and have one-on-one customized, personalized support so that we can help you with any area of your business, whether it's an internal issue with fear or confidence or certainty or any of the stuff we talked about in this video, or strategy about what it is you should do, what platform you should use, anything at all is inbound. So if you want to do that, grab your free consultation call and we'll support you how we can. Was that a grab?
It was a grab. You might. I can only do it creepy. And that's why I didn't do it. Because it would come out creepy. You might.
But
not have high ticket clients. I went British at the end. I did. I went British.
You might not have high ticket clients.
Exactly.
That was a little bit of ET/ the Hobbit.
Oh yeah. Okay.
What's the little? There was a little elf,
like
maybe a goblin
Frodo?
in
Frodo.
Frodo, yeah, and also Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Harry Potter had one of those.
Yes.
Those little goblins too. Now, if you like this video, check out that video where we break down step by step how to make $45,000 a year or more as a coach. Too many coaches are trying to jump over a bunch of steps that are important in the beginning.